Once again, happy Tuesday. We're ready to enter week 4 of this 49ers season. And I'm going to get our friends on Twitter involved with this one too. So just give me a quick second as I tweet this out. This is going to be a nice 49ers roster breakdown. Should have fun doing this. As you can see, I have the depth chart and the roster up. We're going to zoom in on that in a little bit. Go through position by position. As always, if you're just now joining, if you're seeing this on Twitter, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, David Lombardi on YouTube, as we try to grow this and turn it into a nice little spot for some advanced 49ers talk every single week. Just posted a video about the 49ers usage of Trey Lance and why the rookie hasn't been in the game more often. So you can check that out. That's a quicker hit. This one will be a bit longer, keep you guys maybe for 20, 25 minutes. Thought that those of you having a late lunch would appreciate it. And maybe even if you are at work, I mean, not a lot of people I think are working from the office yet, but if you are, maybe you can get your boss mad at you for a little bit and analyze the 49ers roster with me, because this is an ever-changing thing. And I think if we view the 49ers moves and their potential moves through the lens of the ever-changing roster on a week-to-week basis, then we'll understand a little bit about what this football team is doing. So without further ado, we will start with the quarterback position. So here we go. Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Nate Sudfeld still on the practice squad. What can we expect to see moving forward? Well, obviously more Garoppolo and Lance, and I think a little bit more of Lance. Now, I detailed this in the other video that I just posted, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested in hearing more about Trey Lance specifically. But I thought that he'd be used more than he was against the Packers. In fact, if you follow me on Twitter, my reaction at the end of the first half when Lance came in on that third down at the gun to score a touchdown was, it's about time. I thought they were going to use him much sooner in that goal line sequence, but I understand why the 49ers didn't. And it's because they haven't consistently developed the early game leverage, especially in weeks 2 and 3, to comfortably insert Trey Lance into football games. He's a rookie who's still a very raw pocket passer. Therefore, Kyle Shanahan wants tailor-made situations for him. Those tailor-made situations include high leverage downs, 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, goal line, and spots where there is a higher floor and the potential for Trey Lance to raise the ceiling. So the 49ers want to use Trey to increase their offensive leverage, but they need leverage to begin with. And because Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been great early in games, because that's where most of the slip-ups for Garoppolo have come, and for the rest of the offense as a whole, can't blame Garoppolo only. You have to blame the interior line, you have to blame drops, whatever it is. Because that hasn't come early in games, it hasn't bought the 49ers the luxury to be able to use Trey Lance early, and then obviously snowball effect. They're down 17-0 against the Packers. He's only used in a desperate situation at the goal line when the 49ers really need to use him. So when we talk about this quarterback room, I want to emphasize that Garoppolo unlocks Lance. Garoppolo's success is good for Trey Lance playtime because it gives the 49ers that leverage buffer, the higher floor, 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, ahead of schedule situation in which Trey Lance can be effective. So we should focus on Garoppolo right now. What is Jimmy Garoppolo doing wrong? What is Jimmy Garoppolo doing right? Well, my biggest problem with Jimmy's performance was that throw on 3rd and 2 early in the game. Maybe it was 3rd and 1 after the handoff to George Kittle, gained 9 yards, second drive of the game. Jimmy just completely misses an open George Kittle on a crossing pattern. Now, the 49ers were running a man-beater concept because they thought that the Packers would come out in man coverage on 3rd and short. So they ran a pick play, and the pick play picked nobody. But still, George Kittle was open, even against the zone, with a man-beater play, and it wasn't a hard pass for Jimmy Garoppolo to make, and he missed him. For as much hand-wringing as there's been about Jimmy Garoppolo's air yards and the deep ball, I find it ironic that it was the short game that did Jimmy Garoppolo in early in the game against the Packers, because the 49ers weren't able to pick up that 3rd down. They were unable to establish an offensive rhythm. And by the time that they blinked, the Packers were up 17-0. Now, Garoppolo did some really good things in the second half. Those were some sustained drives that he led with some nice throws to Brandon Ayuk and to Deebo Samuel and to George Kittle. He overcame the lack of a run game to bring the 49ers all the way back and make it 28-27. But at that point, the game was already a toss-up, and the 49ers were too good to be in toss-ups, even against the Packers. We saw what the 49ers did to the Packers in 2019. I think this is a comparable 49ers roster. I get it. They're short on running backs. They need more running back production, but they would have been able to overcome that in this game had Jimmy Garoppolo hit that early third down. I'm confident of it. Jimmy Garoppolo hits George Kittle. They move the chains. That run game gets churning enough at 3.5 yards per carry to 4 yards a carry. I mean, the Packers weren't doing anything crazy on the ground, but it was enough to mitigate the interior pressure and get that offense in rhythm early. You saw what happened in the final 31 minutes of the game. The Packers aren't a great defense, and the 49ers scored 28 points in 31 minutes. It's not rocket science. 49ers get a little bit of a rhythm going, they'll be fine offensively. Right now, it's the number 10 offense in the league by DVOA. I think anywhere between 5 and 7 gets this team in position to accomplish its goals. But Jimmy Garoppolo has to hit those early passes to make it happen. I'm not mad at the interception. I don't think anybody should be. That's the play they needed to loosen up the defense for Green Bay. They go over the top. Jair Alexander, tip your cap, makes an awesome play over the top on that interception. Jimmy Garoppolo goes where he's supposed to go with that football, takes a hit from a free rushing linebacker, still puts the deep ball in the money. Unfortunately, Jair Alexander makes an awesome play. I'm not even as upset at Jimmy Garoppolo, if I'm a 49ers fan, at the fumble later in the game. It looked horrific, yes. But Kenny Clark was blowing everybody up on that 49ers interior line. And just imagine any of us playing quarterback. Put yourself in Garoppolo's shoes on that play. You run a play fake, so you take your eyes off the defense by design, and you turn up and you look, and 314 pounds of Kenny Clark is literally 2 inches from your face. I encourage any quarterback in the league to hold on to that football. And some might. Some might be experienced enough to know how to tuck it right away and bury their head and, take the sack. But I guarantee you that a lot of quarterbacks would not avoid that fumble. And the reason that Kenny Clark was so close to Jimmy Garoppolo is because Laken Tomlinson on a design screen pass was supposed to hold Kenny Clark a little bit longer, and he didn't. Because of that, Clark was right there when Garoppolo finished the fake. And Trey Sermon got caught up in the line, too. That might have been attributed to Trey Sermon's inexperience, and Garoppolo had nowhere to really throw. He panicked. He fumbled. Was it a bad play? Of course it was a bad play. But he still dug him out of it with a touchdown drive to end the game. I have a bigger problem, and I think it was much easier to execute that throw to George Kittle on third and one early in the game, and I think that had a huge domino effect on the 49ers' other troubles in the first half. I think that was easier to execute than actually holding on to a football with Kenny Clark right in your face and you're not expecting it. Just me, just my evaluation of the situation. I think both plays were problems. I think the 49ers want to clean up both, but if they don't clean up those early passes from Jimmy Garoppolo, which have been an issue now in 2 straight weeks, they will not get to the next portion of their playbook, and they're going to fall behind, and it's going to be ugly. They need to get on top of the chains early in football games. All right, let's look at running backs. Make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Zoom in on the running back situation because this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. 49ers running back room, Elijah Mitchell, obviously, he's right here. We don't know if he's going to play next week. He was doubtful this week. I think a really bad sign for the 49ers was that Kyle Shanahan said that Elijah Mitchell wouldn't even be trying to play if the 49ers were more healthy in the running back room. That shows you how desperate Kyle Shanahan was entering this football game. The play calling and the alignments were also taken out of a playbook of desperation. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk was playing tailback in this game. He took the first carry. Kyle Juszczyk was taking a random quarterback sneak to try to surprise the defense. Brandon Ayuk was running orbit motion sweeps. Deebo Samuel was doing his perimeter runs instead of running backs. George Kittle was taking a handoff, as I just said. I mean, all of that adds up to Kyle Shanahan screaming, I need running backs. I need running backs. And if you look at the depth chart here, he has Sermon, and obviously he was the top running back in that game. But Shanahan didn't trust him with a full load. It didn't help that Sermon also dropped the pass close to the goal line. Shanahan needs more. Maybe he gets it from Trenton Cannon, who's really fast, but maybe Trenton Cannon is just a special teams weapon. Maybe we see some Jacquez Patrick, a bigger bruiser. But again, if you're talking about Trey Sermon not having a burst with his 4.6 speed in this offense, I guarantee you that Jacquez Patrick, who's even slower than Trey Sermon, but more of a bruiser, doesn't have it either. I think it's key for this running back room to have a speedster. And that speedster was supposed to be Raheem Mostert. When it wasn't Raheem Mostert, then it had to be Elijah Mitchell. And I'll tell you, maybe we should open up my article on The Athletic to show you that running backs do matter in this situation. Last week, I wrote this: at its size, examining how the 49ers are restocking their beaten up offensive backfield. Go down here. This is rushing yards over expected. Calculations that are used to determine whether or not a running back is doing his job relative to the blocking and the room and the defense. Just is the guy gaining more yards than he should be? And Raheem Mostert ranked number 10 in NFL since 2019. 49ers other backs also rank well in this since 2019. So you have Mostert, you have Matt Breida down here, number 31, and you have Jeff Wilson, all above expectation. And then you get into rushing yards under expectation, and that means that the running back is relatively underperforming. The point is that you can't just pick up any guy off the street, no matter how much people talk about that dynamic in Shanahan's offense. You can't just do that and expect productivity. There's a reason why they really, really struggled against the Packers last year with no running backs available. There's a reason they really struggled on Sunday with no running backs available. Now, you hope that the situation ameliorates itself with Jacquez Patrick learning the playbook, with Trenton Cannon learning the playbook, but it's not guaranteed. Normally, these guys have all of training camp, and the 49ers shepherd them in, and they're successful that way. But when injuries happen, history tells us that, a player like Raheem Mostert, a player like Jeff Wilson is really, really valuable to the run game. So that makes me wonder, will the 49ers use this guy right here, Trey Lance, to spearhead, or not spearhead, but to jumpstart that run game? That doesn't necessarily mean Trey Lance is running, but I think we should see more snaps from Trey Lance before the 49ers enter leverage situations to create leverage. I mean, Trey is a weapon. They used 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance on this football team. He's a weapon that can be used as a run game decoy, as something that changes the defensive box count to open up some room and give that run game some rhythm. Because I'll guarantee you that this run game is not going to get its rhythm by itself. The interior line has looked overmatched in its most recent outing. Alex Mack didn't look good. Daniel Brunskill didn't look good. Laken Tomlinson didn't look particularly good. And I don't think Mike McGlinchey has been as good in run blocking this year just because that rhythm isn't there yet for the 49ers. So you do something. You find a way to mix something up to get that rhythm. And when you don't have the backs, maybe Trey Lance is the guy that helps you get that rhythm. Maybe not even by running, maybe by being that threat out on the field. So we'll see what they do in the running backs room. But Shanahan got desperate last week, and I think he's going to be desperate against Seattle again because you need to establish that running foundation of the offense. Let's move on to the receivers. I'll highlight them here. That looks nice. Yeah, so much for the Brandon Ayuk doghouse, right? The guy got 68 snaps in week 3, all kinds of targets. I think he was targeted 7 or 8 times, made some really nice leaping catches, a touchdown for the 49ers to make it 17-14. It wasn't all perfect. Ayuk wasn't looking for the ball in the end zone, and he dropped one at the end of the first half. So there's still some rust to be knocked off, but I really like that pattern at the start the third quarter. The throw from Jimmy Garoppolo was excellent too. Lower arm angle, gets it around the free rusher, and the throw left Garoppolo's hand before Ayuk even made his break, which shows you that cohesion is coming back, which is key. Trent Sherfield only got 2 snaps. Is he in the doghouse? No wonder. He only got 2 snaps. Yeah, I'm just kidding. He's not in the doghouse. Ayuk never was. Ayuk was working back from a hamstring. Then the 49ers challenged him to get back faster, to get back more ready. And I think he showed that by making some big catches against the Packers. I would only expect Ayuk's load to increase. And he, in tandem with Deebo Samuel, is the 1A or the 1B to Samuel's 1A right now. Maybe there will be games where Ayuk has, a bigger load than Deebo Samuel. We'll see as this goes on. But the 49ers have 2 complementary pieces. Samuel obviously more physical than Ayuk, and Ayuk more slippery than Deebo Samuel. By the way, Brandon Ayuk is your full-time 49ers punt returner. Thanks to people who called me an idiot for saying that was a very real possibility a few weeks ago, but it's actually happening now. And the 49ers special teams have been good. In fact, the offense ranks number 10 DVOA. The defense ranks number 16, so they're average. The special teams of the 49ers is number 4. They put an emphasis on special teams efficiency, and through 3 games, it's paying off. And one of the things that they're doing is emphasizing punt returns. And so far, Ayuk and Mohamed Sanu have combined to give them a top 10 efficiency score in the punt return game. As far as the receiver room, though, it's about these 2 guys carrying most of the weight, and then you're going to get supplementary production from Sherfield, Jennings, and Sanu on a rotational basis. But as long as Ayuk and Samuel are healthy, I think the 49ers can do some damage with the pass game. And hey, they scored 28 points in 31 minutes against the Packers without the run game operating, right? The run game was, I don't want to say non-existent, but the run game was anemic against the Packers, and the 49ers were able to deliver through the air. Pass game efficiency right now has been inconsistent, but it has been present, and you could thank Ayuk and Samuel for making some grown man catches as a result. Tight end position, speaking of grown man catches, George Kittle did just that for the 49ers. They're not getting much from Dwelly and Werner right now in the pass game, but Kittle showed up, and he showed up big for them against Green Bay. You know, the play preceding the 4th down that Kyle Shanahan should have gone for it on was very unfortunate because Kittle fought for 3 or 4 extra yards on a 2nd and 17 that made it 3rd and 1. And Shanahan, I mean, according to Shanahan, somebody on Green Bay's defensive line yelled something that caused Alex Mack to snap it early, which caused half the line to not move, which caused Sermon to get stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Shanahan was so frustrated that he thought that Sermon had lost the yardage. And because of that, because he thought it was 4th and 2.5, he sent out the punt team when it was actually 4th and 1. And it was the biggest tactical error of the game, in my opinion. On that 4th and 1, Shanahan definitely should have gone for it from plus territory. And he said he had a quarterback sneak lined up until all that chaos and that shit show happened at the line. So that was just really, really unfortunate because it wasted a Kittle Yak situation. Later in the game, the 49ers wasted another Kittle Yak situation when he had a Saints-like play in the 2-minute drill. They scored the touchdown, but then Aaron Rodgers turned around and scored a field goal of his own, and the Packers won the game. But the main point is that Kittle, who was largely non-existent in the pass game against the Eagles, was very present on those intermediate routes, and he looked like the star that he is against the Packers. So arrow up for George Kittle, his connection with Jimmy Garoppolo, that involvement in the offense. I think that's only going to be better. Guys, again, the 49ers pass offense has not been terrible. This is a number 10 efficiency pass offense right now, and I think that this offense as a whole could be number 5 to number 7. That's where the 49ers need to be to achieve their goals. They were number 7 or 8 in 2019. I see no reason for the offense to be worse, given the talent that it has here, the extra talent that it has here in 2021. To achieve that next goal, guys like Kittle are going to have to produce. Ayuk, Samuel, those guys are going to have to produce. Garoppolo is going to have to give him the football. Jimmy, for the most part, had a good second half. People want to put this in binary terms, black and white. Oh, bench the guy. He sucks. The first 29 minutes, there were multiple problems along the 49ers offensive line and with Garoppolo that I've already outlined, especially the ones with Garoppolo. But the final 31 minutes showcased that the 49ers can be explosive. The 49ers can be productive on offense. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk, he was a leading weapon in this game, got a career-high 8 targets, scored the go-ahead touchdown. Well, I mean, more of that needs to happen. More ball distribution needs to happen. Garoppolo needs to continue executing the offense. And if he does, that will open up the leverage for the Trey Lance situations. And hopefully, for the 49ers' sake, they get a run game to go along with that pass game. But they should be happy with what they're getting out of the skill positions on the outside right now. They just need to make it consistent throughout the whole game. And I think that does come back to the quarterback. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has to start these games out sharper. I did not mean to click on that, but Luke Luna says, my dude, let's calm the nerves of these fans. The faithful believe this team can game plan and figure things out. I mean, it's one game out of 17. There's 14 to go. NFL seasons are novels. Each game is a chapter of the novel. People acting like they've already read the whole book. They've read the whole Bible with one game against the Packers. No, you haven't. It's 1 out of 17 games. People on the inside aren't freaking out about this, and you shouldn't either. All right. Let's go on to the offensive line. Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, Daniel Brunskill, Mike McGlinchey. By the way, I have to get going in about 6 minutes, so I'm going to make this a little bit faster. Mack was terrible. I don't know what was wrong, but he looked like a 35-year-old, which he is. He was bouncing snaps to Jimmy Garoppolo. He was, getting flattened by Kenny Clark. That needs to change. Laken Tomlinson was, yes, partially at fault on the Garoppolo fumble. That needs to change. Daniel Brunskill allowed 4 pressures. That needs to change. Where's Aaron Banks? Still MIA. No update. That's bad for the 49ers. They need to get better on the interior offensive line. The good news is that Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey are playing good football. Trent Williams did whiff. It was his fault that he didn't block Preston Smith, and Preston Smith blew up Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, but no game is perfect. McGlinchey, though, Williams is a top 10 pass blocker at left tackle, and McGlinchey has moved into the top half of NFL tackles in pass protection. If he could keep that up, 49ers are happy. Interior has to be better. Defensive line, do the 49ers move Nick Bosa inside a little bit if he keeps on getting chipped a little too much? Yes, but that's ultimately on the secondary. Every time a team chip blocks somebody, that means that they're dedicating more resources to blocking than receiving. And it's disrespectful to the 49ers secondary, to the back seven. They're saying, we only need to send out Devontae Adams. It's the only guy we need to send out, and we'll beat you downfield. And so far, it's true. 49ers secondary has been bad. Coverage and rush need to work together. Better coverage on the back end means that Nick Bosa gets chipped fewer times on the front end. If it keeps on happening and the secondary keeps on struggling, I absolutely do believe that Chris Kasarik is going to do something to alleviate some of this pressure off Nick Bosa, because him getting pancaked on a blindside hit, essentially, from Robert Tonyan is not fun. So the 49ers are going to find their way around that. Armstead, I think, is still rushing well, but you need more than that. And the reason the 49ers really struggle, I think, to generate pressure is because Bosa and Armstead are doing a lot of the pocket pushing, but D4 didn't do squat for him. And Samson Ebukam, that's so disappointing. Ebukam is the guy that's coming in to relieve Nick Bosa. So Ebukam is getting to work against a fourth-string Green Bay left tackle, and Ebukam is getting no push at all. Now, he did almost get to the quarterback there late on the 25-yarder to Adams on that final drive, and there looked to be some holding there, right? There looked to be some holding, but this game was lost earlier, right? At the end, the 49ers blew the save, but they lost control of game flow earlier when Jimmy Garoppolo missed the pass, when Samson Ebukam couldn't generate pressure against a fourth-string left tackle while Nick Bosa was resting. I mean, these are unexcusable failures that the 49ers have to figure out moving forward. Fred Warner needs to be better in pass coverage. He's making all that money, and he interferes with Robert Tonyan on a huge play, huge third down, extends a drive. Azeez Al-Shaair, big bounce-back performance for him. Thought that tackle on Devontae Adams near the sideline was impressive from a linebacker getting to the sideline. All right, last but certainly least is the secondary. They weren't good. We'll see if Norman is healthy. Jimmy Ward played a good game. Jimmy Ward is solid. I thought that was a good hit on Devontae Adams. The more we see it, the more that we see that he led with his shoulder. He wasn't flagged. Jaquiski Tart was no match for Valdez Scantling on that deep corner route, whatever it was. But other than that, I thought that he was sound. It was mainly an issue with the cornerbacks and everything moving in cohesion. K'Wan Williams got beat early. 49ers are going to have to operate without him. I'm going to, remove him and could go ahead and put K'Wan on IR, because with a calf strain, we know that K'Wan Williams is going to be going to IR. So we'll put him on IR. Opens up yet another 49ers roster spot here. They now have 50 spots, so 50 spots taken, so 3 more to go. What will the 49ers do instead of K'Wan Williams? Well, I think you move Diamador Lenore into that top nickelback slot. Problem there, though, is Josh Norman going to be healthy? I mean, the guy had like internal bleeding and bruised lungs. That's not good. So if Norman's not back, Drake Kirkpatrick probably has to come up, because Ambry Thomas, that's another draft problem. He's not even ready to be depth right now. I don't think anybody wants to start Dante Johnson. It's a good time to call up Richard Sherman, and the 49ers have been in contact with Richard Sherman. So we'll see how that turns out. But they just need more cohesion on the secondary, because that rush and coverage have to work together. I get it. 49ers are a pass rush over coverage team, but they need that rush to do, they need that coverage to carry more of its weight. It was unacceptable to give up those 3 points to Aaron Rodgers. I don't care how good those throws were. Devontae Adams, the first throw was epic and probably beats any coverage. Whatever. Fred Warner gets over his outstretched fingertips. It was that second one, way too soft. You gave him a field goal if you're the 49ers secondary, and it won't cut it. So we'll see if this unit improves. We'll see if D'Amico Ryan's calls improve. But that's a look at the 49ers roster for now. And I hope that everybody has a great rest of your Tuesday. Everybody take care.